would be left with some more questions to find out answers of. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce the first topic and the first speaker for session 2, Young Minds Speak. The topic of the day is, the topic of the session is, the topic is trading on the path to beyond with light and eyes. Trading on the path to beyond with light and eyes by Mr. Roshan Tiwari. He is a PhD scholar at IISER, Kolkata. And I'll read a very short bio of Mr. Roshan Tiwari. He is a research scholar in the Department of Physical Sciences at the Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, IISER, Kolkata. He completed his BSc in Physics from Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi in 2014 and is currently pursuing his integrated PhD at IISER, Kolkata. His research interests include spectroscopy, bio-inspired waveguides, microscopy, sensing, optical trapping, and statistical analysis. He is also interested in the connections of unexplored aspects of reality with age-old wisdom. So I would like the audience to welcome our young speaker. We have had the opportunity to listen to some more young speakers yesterday, but this is the first offline physical mode Young Mind Speak session. So I hope we all can get something out of it. Thank you.
The Vrindavan, which is not available for your sensual perception. You should be prepared to see Vrindavan as a consciousness, a place of Krishna consciousness. Once Prabhupada said, Vrindavan is not a point on the map, nicht ein Punkt auf der Landkarte. It is a state of consciousness, Krishna consciousness, where everyone wishes to serve Lord Krishna. Just a few hours ago, I read some of my mail, and someone was telling me, "Oh, I went to Vrindavan. It seems the amount of pigs have so much increased that there is always a smell of stool available in Vrindavan." Prabhupada had spoken about this perception of Vrindavan. He had said that sometimes people say Vrindavan is a very dirty place with not so much environmental consciousness.
Is the PPT not projected here? Big screen?
Vrindavan is a spiritual place. Vrindavan is
okay, so good afternoon everyone and respected all seniors, all my friends. So today I'm going to speak about treading on the path to beyond with light and eyes. So first of all, I would like to thank Bhaktivedanta Institute for giving me such an opportunity to present this important topic. I'm a research scholar from IISER, Kolkata. I'm working in the experimental science, experimental physics, mainly in optics. So I have been in this field for more than 5-6 years, and I have found something, some very important results and important clues about how by using light with our own eyes we can go
some of you
understand that there is something very much beyond
this is
about,
what I
above our
see
own intellect.
in this room.
So as you can see in the figure, there is a person standing.
However,
the entire, you can see the sky is there. You can see the stars.
There is a symphony.
So stars are emitting light, and the person is standing there is perceiving the light with eyes. So eyes and light is the most important factor by which we can understand 80%, more than 80% of our universe. So that's why I have chosen this very important topic.
Your material senses.
And yeah, next.
You need a radio.
So in my talk, mainly I will introduce, will give the introduction to visible light.
So
as you can see, we are using all these lights. These are called visible light, which we can see, and these have a particular wavelength.
At this moment,
and then, what is the role of visible light to support photosynthesis? Because photosynthesis is a very important process in our, you can say in our earth, by which plants make food. And third thing, its role,
is a
the role of
reality,
visible light to support
but you
vision.
cannot perceive it with the
And
eyes
lastly,
or hear it
this
with
is
the ears.
the matching
You need
between our vision
certain instruments
synthesis with this
which
visible light is a
enable you
coincidence,
to hear
or it's
the
just
radio
is there a pattern, is there a very
radio
important
receiver.
clue?
In the same
Next.
way, please do not think that you can
So
register
what is light?
or
When we
understand
when we
Vrindavan
ask any
with your
student,
senses.
they told that light is a
The
energy which gives us a
eyes,
sensation of sight.
yes. What
So
goes on
yes,
in
light gives us
Vrindavan
sensation of
is
sight,
something
but
much
light
more
is a very,
divine
very
than
small
your
range.
eyes
The visible
can
light is very, very small range in the entire spectrum.
Vrindavan is the place of
You can
Lord
see in this
Krishna's
figure a
sacred
number of
appearance.
waves are going on,
And he has
and
not
these
just
waves have
appeared
different
and
wavelengths.
then,
Some waves are very small
disappeared
wavelength, some are bigger
like
wavelength.
a tourist who
Similarly, in
visits
this
a place
entire
and
room,
then,
there are a lot of waves are flowing, but you cannot see
other
with your
place.
eyes.
No.
There are infrared wavelengths.
Krishna
There are radio
is
wavelengths. The
eternally,
way I am using this headsets,
present
they are
in
using radio
Vrindavan.
wavelengths and different
He is
wavelengths, but we
not
cannot see
present,
with our eyes. So
for
this
perceivable
universe is filled with a lot of number of
senses.
wavelengths.
He's
Next,
perceivable
next slide.
only in your
So
Krishna
as you can see in the entire
consciousness.
spectrum, the visible
That is my
light
first point.
is this
My
one,
second point is
the red,
a
green, blue.
simple
And the
recommendation
entire,
how
and
you
in the
can
entire spectrum, there are
enter the
different
realm of
wavelengths.
Krishna
There is a gamma,
consciousness.
which is a
in
very, very
the
small
holy Dham.
wavelength, and there is a radio,
Obviously,
which is very higher
we
wave.
know it is
The
by
radio, the wavelength of a radio wave
process,
is,
ninefold
you can
processes
say,
of
almost the size of a
devotional
mountain.
service,
It can vary,
starting
like
with
100
Shravanam
kilometers,
and
10 kilometers.
Kirtanam,
But the
healing
gamma
about
ray
Krishna
wavelength
chanting.
is very, very
This
small,
should
like the
be
size of an atom.
first and foremost on
So
your list.
the
We want to hear
wavelength
about
span
Krishna.
of the
We
entire
want to
electromagnetic
chant his holy
spectrum
names.
is very, very
You
large,
should
and the
take
visible
a
spectrum
harmonium
is
with
very,
you,
very
or
small.
borrow a
You can
harmonium
say
Vrindavan,
in
or buy a
nanometers.
harmonium
Next slide.
and have your
So
Mridanga and Karata.
this is called the
This is
Goldilocks
first
visual region,
key
which,
to
without,
come
which
to
we,
the,
is this visible region.
spiritual level
And
of Krishna
it represents the
Vrindavan.
teeniest fraction of the
First,
entire
he which
span
will
of the
open
electromagnetic
door to
spectrum,
Vrindavan.
equivalent to
second
one
key,
playing
and I
card
want to
in a
really
stake
make
of
this
cards
point to
reaching
you,
beyond the
is
Andromeda galaxy.
that you
You
equip
can see there is
yourself
an Andromeda
well
galaxy.
with
If
the
I
art
put
of
this
humility,
card across
with
all the
practiced
distance
humility.
and I pick one card, that
When
one card
Lord
represents
Chaitanya
the
when
visible
Lord
region, the visible
Nityananda
range, the range which we see, the visible light.
gave a guided
So that
tour
is,
to Jiva
can you remove
Goswami
this,
through
this
Navadvip.
message?
He said, Jiva Goswami, there's only one way how you can experience the real.
So the wavelengths
Dham.
vary by an
That is
unimaginably
by becoming
large factor
more
of more than
humbler
10
the
to the power
straw in the
25,
street.
from extreme longer
And,
to extreme shorter.
This way, chant the holy
So
names.
the
This is
visible
only
region,
way.
what I want to say
Please
is
know,
confined to a very,
You
very
could
small
now
fraction.
spend
As I have given the example of card. Next
1,500
slide.
Or 2,000 Swiss francs. Come to Vrindavan.
Yeah,
See
so
the pics of
what I want to
Vrindavan,
say, that small
become
visible
cheated
region
by the
is
rickshaw drivers
responsible
of
for the beauty
Vrindavan,
of colors we see
become
around us on
totally,
our earth. So all the beauty is the colors
and Vrindavan
is
report
coming from
forward
that
by
small
thinking
region.
this needs
If
an
that small
environmental
region is
reform.
not there, or it would
And
have
go
shifted
more
to
or
other,
less
then this beauty would not have
frustrated
been
with
there, the
sunburn,
colors of the beauty.
Back to
Next slide.
to Switzerland. I don't think
Now,
this experience is worth 1,000.
there was slide before also, so
francs.
maybe, yeah. So
You
now
have
that
the
visible region
opportunity,
is also responsible for
however,
photosynthesis.
to make another type
Because
of
photosynthesis
experience.
requires the region, the
have the
wavelengths,
opportunity
which are neither highly energetic, neither
enter the
lower
spiritual
energetic. There is a
domain,
very minimum window for
by
the
first of
photosynthesis
all
to occur.
equip
So you can see the
yourself
sunlight
with
on the leaves,
powerful art
and
of
the,
humility.
the plants are using
How a
water
person can see
and carbon
everything
dioxide
that
to generate
happens as
sugar or
Krishna's
carbohydrate.
arrangement.
So
When you go
this
to Vrindavan,
leaves have
see everything as
chlorophyll,
Krishna's arrangement.
chloroplast, and from that chloroplast, there is a chlorophyll is there inside that chloroplast. So that is a chemical, that is a molecules. What that molecule does, that traps heat and generates, energy. So I can say that, yeah, next slide. Yeah. So in this PPT, you can see there is a reaction occurring. Reaction which is very much is very much balanced. So what amount of energy and what wavelength is needed in order to make a food for plants? So the next slide. Yeah. So, so visible, ये cut हो रहा है इसको. Okay. So this visible band is a, this photosynthesis requires
Lago temple.
This visible band,
And
because
when
it's all the
everyone
photochemistry
went
that
to
is happening
Prasadam,
in the leaves.
he went back into the
requires only
temple.
that
So I wanted to see what would he do alone in the
reaction
temple.
will not happen.
I am a curious person. And totally
So
free in
the
my
shorter
being.
wavelength, as I
Do you know
already
what he
told,
did?
that the shorter
He
wavelengths
comes
are
from
like
maybe
gamma
the
ray,
poorest
X-ray.
country in the
If
world,
our
and
nature, if
some
our
of the
universe
poorest
have that
country in the
optimized
world.
wavelength, then
Money
there would be no
not
leaves.
the poorest, but
Because
it
they,
is
what
not
they
so
will do, they are
rich.
so energetic, they will destroy the
But
delicate
he went to the
macromolecules in the cell.
donation box of the deity, and
And
he
if
gave
you have a longer wavelength, like infrared,
a little
microwave, radio
donation
waves,
for the
then
deities
they are
in
too
the
weak
deity box.
to
I
activate
observed you
for
very
chemical reaction.
minorly.
So in order to activate the chemical reaction in photosynthesis,
That's
we
my
only that
nature. No
wavelength.
one, I have this nature when I want to observe
Next slide.
someone, no one sees me. And I saw, I could even tell you the amount which you put into the box. If you
Next slide.
This is
Yeah.
a concept.
Similarly, apart
Come
from
to the
visible range,
deities
we
and
need
serve
infrared
them.
also.
Bring something for them.
And infrared
Then
band,
you will
what it
enter
does,
the
it
real
provides heat to
Vrindavan.
our earth.
I want to summarize
If there is no
what I
heat,
said in
then
a
what
little
will happen?
story.
The
Once
entire
there was a
earth will
king
become like a ice,
who went Maharaj,
the entire water will become ice.
worldly king.
So in order to support life,
went
we
to
need that band
Vrindavan.
also.
He had,
And
like many kings in the past,
next slide.
his little
Yeah. So the question is
summer
that,
residence
do you
in
know most
Vrindavan.
of the
You can
stars
see
in our
many,
universe, including our sun,
types of
are emitting
nice
such wavelengths?
architectural buildings.
That
They
is
are
very important
palaces
part,
for the kings
because
of
we need
Vrindavan.
such wavelength.
The
And the
kings
good thing is that
inhabit,
the entire cosmos, the
sometimes
stars in the entire cosmos is emitting
and,
such wavelengths.
live in these
Majority of
palaces
stars.
because they
Next slide.
wanted to make spiritual
Even our sun, you can
advancement
see
in
the solar
wonderful
spectra,
atmosphere
you
of
can see
Raj.
the green one
So this
has
particular
a peak.
king
It's a
came,
visible, and
he
then
had
you
a
have infrared.
vast
So the sun, our
retinue
sun
as
has a
in
peak at visible.
Begleitschaft.
Okay. So the sun emits half of
Heer
its
von
radiation
Dienen and
in this
also an
minuscule
army of
visible
servants with him.
region of spectra.
And they
Next
carry
slide.
big trunks.
And what I was
for
telling,
the
that the
king's
starlight, the
use.
entire cosmos.
So
So
the
these are
Prime
different type
Minister
of
was
stars,
also
depending
there.
upon the size.
And as
So the M
was
stars, you can see
organizing,
there is a designation M, K,
the
G, F.
unloading
So
of
M
the
stars are
trunk-
most common
trunks,
stars, and they emit
he
light
said, "This
in
trunk
that region,
goes in the sleeping room of the king, that
the visible
goes
region.
and
Next
goes
slide.
to the kitchen,
So
that
these are the
goes to
data,
the
and you can
bathroom,
find
has the
here
buckets,
the M stars, the K stars,
soap
and G
and
stars
everything there.
are the most dominant
And,
stars in the universe,
the king
and these are the stars
was
which can
also
support
there.
these type of reactions, the
This was,
photosynthesis. So you can say that not only on Earth,
furnished,
there may be
everything
in
was
other universe, in
arranged.
other planets,
And then he needed
which
to
has
just
stars like this,
quickly
there
go
may
and
be possibility that photosynthesis may be
call
happening.
of nature, so he put his
And
kingly shawl,
yeah, so that is very important
beautiful
clue which
silken
I got.
shawl, on one
Next
of the
slide.
trunks. Um,
Yeah, so the entire
so
cosmos
that he
is
could
bathed in the
go
light of
and,
life.
Answer,
So
just quickly go.
There is a huge stars, and mostly the
When he
stars are
came
emitting the
back,
visible light
he
and
saw
some IR and
how a
UV.
monkey-
So you can say that the
once
carbon-based
by
life
this
is
one
very much
Ganga
possible.
Maharaj was
Next
talking
slide.
about, was just diving down
Eyes.
from
So
a
now
tree,
coming to eyes, you can see a
taking
number
that
of eyes in
shawl
these figures.
into
Human
the
eyes,
tree.
birds' eyes,
And,
horse
this
eyes.
kingly
So
shawl.
eyes are a
And
very
he started
important,
to eat
you
on
can
it.
say, detectors. In order
And
to
destroyed
see
the
anything, you need detectors. So how
The
detector
king
works?
went up
Like in our cameras,
through the
light falls on
staircase
it,
in his
and then electrons
room
are released.
to get his
So it is like a
shawl back.
photoelectric effect. So
As
similarly,
he looked
nature,
at the
nature
shawl
has
on the
already,
monkey,
you can say, understood or
started
evolved,
all of a
understood it
sudden to cry
very time earlier, how to
and
act as a
cry
detector,
and
our
cry.
eyes. Next slide.
The minister who observed all
So
this,
these are our eyes, and with our eyes, we perceive 80% of information.
king should not
So
cry,
you
he
can
should
see
take
the
maybe his
morphology
sword
of the
and
eye,
throw
the
it
physiology.
after the monkey,
There is a retina.
and
and
behave
this
like a real
everyone maybe
surgeon.
knows
What is
how
wrong
it
with
works.
our
There is
king?
an optic nerve. Light falls on a lens, and it converges
For
to
1
a
week he
retina.
observed the
There is a
behavior of the
photoreceptors
king.
there, the detectors.
saw
In our
that
eyes
this
also,
king
there are a lot of
was
detectors which detects
extremely
light
humble.
and convert it
He
into
was no
electrical
longer
signals.
commanding anyone
Next slide.
around.
So these
would
are the
sometimes
detectors
sit
in
in
our
his
eyes.
room
We
alone,
cannot see, but scientists
chant
have done a
a
lot
lot,
of research. They
japa,
found that
and only
they
read
perceive
in
different
holy
type of colors.
scriptures. He could
Human
see
can
the
see
behavior of the
only
king
that
was
color,
totally
and for a dog,
changed.
the colors could be different.
Sometimes he
This
saw the king
white
crying.
cloth could be different color for a dog. So
So
different
after
animals
1
have a
week, this
different
became
color
too much
perception.
for the minister.
Next
He
slide.
thought, my king has become a woman.
So
That's not very good. He needs
2
to
more minutes.
be a little bit on top of the
So
world.
these are the
And he
reactions which are
went
happening
to
in
the
our eyes,
minister
and
said,
these
"Hey,
reactions,
to the
the
king,
important
I'm
is that
very sorry,
these
but I
reactions
have
needs
this question
energy
and
of
I'm
that range, the
responsible
visible
that your
range.
stay is nice
If
here.
that range is
Can you
not there,
tell
we
me
cannot
why
see.
you
Next
cried
slide.
when the monkey took your
So
shawl
what I
away?
want to say, that
I
visible
thought it
light
was a
is the right
normal
energy.
reaction. You should have been a
Visible
little
light with near
angry.
spectral
But
tuning to
you,
UV and
you're the
IR
king.
is the type of
He took
radiation,
away
the appropriate energy
your
levels for detection,
this and that,
biological systems, say
your royal
photoreceptors. Next slide.
insignia. The king said, my dear minister,
So visible
listen
light is the
very
right wavelength.
carefully.
So when you understand this optics, there are called
I had
point
come
spread
as a
functions,
king
or
to
you can say
Vrindavan
the
with
Abbe's
many
diffraction limit.
servants,
So
many trunks,
that I will tell, if
and
someone is
my
interested, I
kingly
can tell
shawl.
later also. So next slide.
But
This is very
Srimati
important thing.
Radharani
If
and
anyone
Krishna
want, I can just, I
do
want to
not
say that
allow
for a
you to
human eye,
come
our
with the
focal length is
false material
1.7
ego
centimeter
to
and
Vrindavan.
aperture size of a pupil is 0.8 centimeter,
I
and
was
for
in
a
the
lambda
ego
of
of a world
0.5
conqueror,
micron, means the
of
visible
a
lambda,
very
green
rich
wavelength,
thing.
we will
But
get a disk diameter
this
of
way you
about
cannot
2.5
come to
microns,
Vrindavan.
which is very much
Therefore,
matching with the size
Krishna
of a photoreceptor.
personally sent me that monkey.
But if our
And he
wavelength
took away
change
my
from
shawl
10 times,
uh,
then our
to
eyes has
remind
to
me.
increase the
Come as a
size of our
servant.
head.
Don't come
So
as a
that
master.
what I want to say, that this
And he
light, the
walked
visible
away
light
to
is very much
Vrindavan.
important,
I very
and
much
you can say
appreciated how Bhakti
visible
Swami
light
Damodar Maharaj
is
said
very
this
much
servant
favorable for our
principle
own
is an
survival.
important spiritual
Next
principle.
slide.
When you go
Next.
to Vrindavan, he also
Next.
talked about the
Next.
natural humility of a
Next.
Vaishnava, which he
So it's the precise matching of the
perfectly
energy difference for a photosynthesis
exemplifies.
and vision to that of visible range. Is that a coincidence?
So these two,
So that is a
service
question. So
and
all these
a
things have
humble
happened
attitude,
accidentally.
and finally Shravana and Kirtana, hearing well about Krishna and chanting about Krishna will be your personal key, which will open the door to Vrindavan. Thank you very much for hearing.
Hello. So is it a mere coincidence that this all things are matching?
Now we
Next
want
slide.
to,
So
again
just I want
say
to give an example that when you go to a room, what you find chairs,
thank
tables,
you also for staying
and
so
posters.
long.
So
Please
all these
forgive
are
us.
not accidentally
We
arranged there.
really
There is
went,
some purpose there.
With lightning speed.
Everything
we
has been
risk
defined by some
our
purpose.
life
Similarly,
and a
our
lot of
entire
luxury
universe, in
coming here
universe, we are
because
finding a lot
you
of
get
pattern and
fined
clues.
so
So these
heavily.
are not there as an accident, but
We
had
broke
some
all the
purpose. Next
rules
slide.
of the traffic.
So Fred Hoyle, who coined the term
Actually,
Big Bang,
Devananda
is a very
Pandit
great
was guiding
scientist.
us in this
What
endeavor.
he says, some super calculating intellect must have designed the properties of the carbon atom.
Thank you once
Otherwise,
again, and
the chance
I
of
wish you
finding
a
such an
very
atom
nice
through blind forces of
continuation
nature
of this
would be
non-matter
utterly
program.
minuscule.
I'm extremely
So the
impressed
carbon atom is very
by the
unique
service of
because carbon atom
our
forms
Shyamananda,
polymers,
which is good by
catenation process,
Manjari,
or no
who
other atoms
really,
can form,
are an
silicon can
example
form,
of
but carbon is
consistent
very important thing.
service
What he's saying
to
that
all of
the
you,
manufacturing
who help
of
you
carbon
to
in any
make
star
advancement in Krishna
is
consciousness, who bring
how
you
it is forming.
further
It
up,
requires a lot of
and,
intellect,
they
and
do
some intellect has made it. It's
consistently.
not possible that
It is
it has
pushing me
arranged, it has created by themselves by
very
itself.
impressed.
Next slide.
Also that our Milita
So
is still
Freeman
so
John
happily
Dyson
hosting
is
our
a
non-matter
very great scientist,
devotees
and what he says
in her
that
cosmic
as we
group.
look out into the universe and identify the many accidents of physics
Universal cosmic group.
and astronomy that have worked together
Thank you
to
very
our
much
benefit,
for rendering
it
this
almost seems
very
as
important
if the
service
universe
to the
must in
Vaishnavas.
some
Please
sense
continue,
have known that we were coming.
with
So you can find it in his book,
wonderful
The
services. Now all of you
Anthropic
go to
Cosmological
Vrindavan
Principle. This
and
book is
you
there, you can find from there.
go into
Next
the
slide.
Yamuna. This is really
So these are
an
the books
example of
I will
steady
recommend.
progress
This
by
first
the
is the energy and the atmosphere of physical chemical approach. Anybody can go through it. And the next is just recently it came by John Dental. The miracle of a man, a fine reflection for human existence. So that's available on Kindle, and you can go through. So these are the summaries. The visible light with IR is only viable range to support biochemical reactions. Our eyes see and the universe only
have some. Hello.
कुछ दिन जूम कोई ऑन किया है यहाँ पे इसका जूम ऑन है म्यूट मारिए यहाँ पे म्यूट कीजिए आप माइक पे आए यहाँ पे म्यूट कीजिए एक सेकंड
Yeah. Do we have any questions among the audience?
एक सेकंड
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. My question is like you told that there should be some intelligent designer. In conclusion, you told for creating all these delicate things like range of photosynthesis and all. But if we see if we see your cloth, then it is white in color, and if a dog see, then it may be some other color. So like why the designer has created such differences among different organisms that uh, their photoreceptors and all those things are designed differently. Why it is happening like this?
Hello.
Is it
Yeah.
because of some purpose or what? Yes, sir.
Obviously, every organism has different way of living. Somebody is living inside sea. Okay, inside sea there is no light at all. So according to that, there is you can say it has adapted itself. Okay, so that is important factor. So there is a lot of variety in this universe. So according to that, they have come up with that.
Sir, I have a question for you. So, as you have said that light, the sun emits that range of light which is more under visible range, and the carbon atom has been reflected like that. So, what do you think? What do you want to say from your all presentation? That is it some decided some pre formed pre-designed planet, or it may be possible that because universe is such big and our planet is very small in comparison to that, there is a possibility that it is just a random selection, means what we
But
say that
you can say that is possible, but at a you can say all the parameters are coming at the same level, because there are many parameters and all the parameters are exactly coinciding at the same time at the same. That is very much, many scientists are telling that, not it's not my interpretation or many things, it's all about what they are saying. I'm just following them. So what I found that they are saying that some intellect may have come up and designed. So even nowadays many scientists like you can say this Neil Tyson and even Elon Musk and all these people are saying that maybe we are living in a simulation of other civilized people. So it could be possible. It's not like null set. It's a possibility that we may be living in some other simulations, like a software we built. Okay. Because when we do coding, we put a lot of parameters. Similarly, all these parameters, the fine tunings, the fine constants. So yes, sir. Yes.
The transparency of water is several orders, 6-7 orders higher in the visible window than even in the nearby outside of it. Now, this could play a very important role, because that means that, visible light could, at one point when Earth was covered with water, this is the light that would have been most transparent.
Yeah.
So that is a connection which gives a special role to the visible light.
And the good thing that what I found is that the 90% of stars are in that range. That is very intriguing for me. Initially, I didn't have that information, but just 2-3 months back, I was searching and I found that 90% are emitting that wavelengths, which are very important for biochemical reactions. Not on this Earth, maybe in other planets, there may be photosynthesis happening, but that photosynthesis, maybe their leaves would be in different colors. they are not green chlorophyll, but they are maybe in red. Because that window is very important. Otherwise, if photosynthesis occurs in UV or gamma ray, because they are so energetic that they will never allow any molecule to form. They will destroy every molecule. So that's why I'm saying that some special unique thing is there with light, with so much thing. Like if we go deep, we can find maybe.
So,
Thank
sir,
you.
we have another question. Another question.
Hello. So it was very nice presentation. I really enjoyed it. So I had a little question. So when you go to your photosynthetic reaction, so their chemical equation was there. So there you had mentioned that this equation is very balanced. So in balanced, in what sense? Is it the related to the light, or the chemically balanced, or something else?
Balance means chemically balance is important. Yeah. So like photosynthesis, these reactions are very much unique in the sense that universal. These reactions, you cannot say that these are accidents. For example, I will tell you, in our star, nuclear fusion is happening. Nuclear fusion has a set of reactions which are very much, you can say, fine-tuned. For example, H2O plus 3N2. The 3 is very important. If you do 2 and 2, nothing will happen. So these are universal reactions. And our stars are acting like a company, the furnace for all these elements. Whatever you see in your periodic table are coming from these stars. And this periodic table, the elements there, is very much has a purpose. For example, our entire body is made of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen. Okay, if we have other elements, for example, you can say nitrogen, or I can say some beryllium. Beryllium will never form, maybe it will never have the role that carbon has. So carbon is very important. So what you have to do, like in periodic table, go and you can find every elements there have some purpose, have a very important purpose. For example, steel, tin, it comes from iron. So we are building these fans and all these things. So that's why if we include something, we have to include purpose also. Something is there. It's not like everything has come random, and how the periodic table is arranging everything. If it had been random, then it would be scattered everywhere. For example, nitrogen, carbon, silicon, all these things is in a group number, right? They have same properties. So how this arrangement is coming?
Thank you.
Hello, sir. Good evening. Sir, that was a nice presentation, but I actually could not understand that what your motive. That means you compare both the process of photosynthesis and the vision. So they both lie on the same wavelength, around 400 to 700 nanometer. So what you want to tell, actually, that was really nice presentation, that all that, but I didn't understand what you want to say.
I want to say that all the time I'm saying that there is no accident happened. Okay, and Fred Hoyle and many scientists are saying that maybe our arrival is destined. Okay, and the important thing is that the vision and this photosynthesis, all these things only requires that wavelength. And why the entire cosmos has that wavelength? Is there any relations?
So you are asking a question.
Yeah, I am also exploring. I'm not just
okay.
I'm not saying that I am saying you. I am also a student, and I'm also studying it. And what I found, I'm just sharing.
Yes, sir.
If you find something different, you can share.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Do we have any more questions? Oh yeah, another one.
Thank you, Bhaiya, for the talk. This is the different version of yours that we have seen it here today. Yeah, sure. Is it fine now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, since we are giving the light energy to the system of photosynthesis, can we say it's an endothermic reaction?
It's endothermic.
Huh? Like the energy in the form of light, not heat.
Yeah, obviously, because for example, in order to cook food,
Huh.
you need energy.
Yeah, yeah.
So plant also need energy.
Yeah.
So they directly take sunlight. We cannot take sunlight to produce energy.
Yeah. And since we are using the gaseous molecules to form a solid glucose molecule, can we say that the entropy of the system is decreasing?
I don't have much idea because entropy always increases. What I need to discuss this.
Yeah, so my question is about the classical
For
thermodynamics.
every reaction, the entropy should increase, right?
Yeah, and so when we say a reaction is going to happen, we usually say that the Gibbs free energy change should be negative, and that will give the spontaneity. And we know that the photosynthesis is a very spontaneous process. But it turns out that it's endothermic as I feel that the entropy is decreasing too, because we are forming the solid molecules out of the gaseous, solid and liquid. Like for example, if you're taking water as a byproduct too. So
Okay,
how is this reaction actually happening? So this can support the fact that this is way too planned than what we expect it to be. But still the simple classical laws which can explain everything going in a particular direction, but I don't know how to relate it with this. So could you shed some light?
Yeah, we can discuss later also.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't have.
Thank you. So I've been looking for this answer since years, and yeah.
When you do a polymerization, ethylene to polyethylene, okay?
Yes.
So lot of polyethylene molecules are there, and finally you get polyethylene. Do you think that, definitely you think that entropy is decreasing? But then how polyethylene is forming from ethylene? It is because the entropy at that level is decreasing, definitely, but the system entropy is increasing. So there is a system and surrounding, right? So if you consider the entire, in entirety, that entropy is decreasing, increasing. Also, the thermodynamics plays. You have the delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. Delta H is very important. Understand?
Yes, sir.
So if the delta H is also going negative, then delta G will be negative. It will be spontaneous. Understood?
So it's like the system of the entropy of the whole system. So what is included in the whole surrounding here?
Del H and del S, right? If del S is decreasing, you are only thinking about del S, but you are forgetting that there is also del H. Okay, so delta G has to be negative. Okay.
Yes.
Understood?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bhaiya.
Do we have any more questions regarding this? Please, sir, please, I would request you to please be on the stage for a couple of more minutes. Thank you, sir. And on behalf of the summer school team, I would request Sri Narayan Gaudaji to present a small memento as a token of appreciation to Sri Roshan Tiwari. So, Sri Narayan Gaudaji, please come on to the stage. And I would request the audience to give him a big round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Tiwari, for this wonderful talk and creating so many questions in our minds. So, I would request to move on to the next session, and I hope the next young speaker again scratches the rusted surface in our minds where we can actually shine a little more. And I would request Mr. Nikhil Yenugu to come on to the stage. He is the next speaker. The topic of the next talk has been changed. As you can see in the schedule, it is something else, but he decided to talk on the journey of concept of mass. So I'll give a, so please take your seats, sir. I would give a small, a brief biodata about Mr. Nikhil. Yenugu Nikhil is a first-year research scholar in the Department of Chemical Sciences at the Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Kolkata, IISER, Kolkata. He obtained his integrated BS-MS degree in chemistry with physics minor from IISER, Kolkata in 2020. His research interests include quantum chemistry, electronic structure theory, and molecular reaction dynamics. Apart from his academic studies, he is also interested in studies at the interface of foundations of science and consciousness. So this is Mr. Nikhil for you, and I would request him to take over the mic.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Manas, for a kind introduction. So firstly, I would like to thank Bhaktivedanta Institute for giving me this opportunity. So I have changed my plan because I have noticed there are more than half of our people are from higher secondary school. So I have made the presentation little later because before it was DNA, all the things, but this one. So next slide. So today we will start with we will see how the concept of mass has evolved over time. So if any of you would like to tell what is mass, because all of you study Newton's first law, second law. Without mass, your Newton's first law and second law is you will not be able to comprehend. If you can tell what is mass, anyone? You can shout, no problem. Which is anything which is occupying space, it has mass. Okay. Yeah. Any more? Just one more trial I would like to take. Niket, you can try. Yes.
Actually, I think mass is an attribute of all matter around us. Means without mass, there is no matter. So the thing is, mass and weight is different. Like F is equal to mg. So if we go in different planets, then weight would differ, but mass will remain same because it is the fundamental attribute of any matter. So that is how mass is defined.
Yeah. Okay. This is actually here when people try to define concept of mass, we will see how I will add philosophical insights at later stage. But to study any motion, we required mass. This concept we required by existence, but we don't know how, what is the definition of mass. I will tell how we are actually trying to, like trying to always find a space where we no need to define the definition of mass. So next slide, please. So we would like to start from early Greeks because that is the starting point of modern science. So in early Greeks, there was one research problem like that was time of wars. So if you have a lighter weight, just 1 kg weight arrow, and if you have a 5 kg weight arrow, which one will hit the enemy at larger distance? They would like to study because this was a research problem of the that times. So they were they, by just seeing with eyes, you can see the larger weight mass will be the larger object will travel less distance. So they have concluded like, okay, the motion is related to mass. The motion is governed by mass, but they don't know how all these things happening. but they have come to the conclusion that there is something, the way, the feeling, like how you define mass. Just you take something in your hand, like at the ancient times they used to define, just you wait, whatever you feel, you are feeling something, but you don't know that feeling. They have attributed the weightness, they have attributed it as mass. Next slide, please. So we'll start with Isaac Newton, like formalism. So when Galileo did this experiment, that both the lighter and heavier objects fall at the same time at the bottom of the Eiffel Tower. So with that revolution in thought, we defined the laws of motion. Newton has defined his laws of motion in this famous volumes, Principle of Mathematics, as this one. The quantity of matter is a measure of the same arising from its density and bulk conjugacy. See, the concept of density has been very old, because Aristotle has already defined the concept of mass, because in the while they are solving the research, like the problem of designing boats, they have already defined Archimedes. So concept of density is much older than mass in that if you see from history of science. So from there is defining density is nothing, mass is nothing but density into volume. But what is mass, still he didn't define, because he just as in his equations mass term. But you can go to next slide, please. Next slide, not previous. Yeah, so in 19th century, there was one scientist, Ernest Mars. So he is a physicist. So he has noticed this circular argument of definition of mass given by Newton. What is the, like, he's telling density, how you define density? Density is mass by volume. What is mass? Mass is density into volume. But what is mass? We don't know. Right? Means this is very mysterious, like how you, but in Newton's equation we can study, like the feelingness of heavier and lightness, they have attributed that thing to mass. But what is mass, we will see. You can go to next slide, please. So we will try to understand over this presentation how mass of ice, we will try to understand with this very small question, how you define the mass of ice. Next slide. So our Dalton has came and gave very famous hypothesis at that time. So he told every body can be break into very small and smaller and smaller bodies, and the properties of bigger body can be defined in terms of smaller and smaller, the properties of smaller objects. So means there the concept of like cutting down, what is mass of ice? It is nothing but mass of water, sum of water molecules. So this mass we have attributed the entire mass to sum of mass of some other identity. We are given it as water molecule size. So next slide, please. So in nuclear there in early 20th century, there was when we are trying to understand the structure of molecules, like Boltzmann, all these people have come, but Rutherford, he has established with this experiment, gold foil experiment. So from his conclusion, we got to know the entire mass is actually concentrated at center of the atom than roaming air, like the entire, most of the 99% of mass is concentrated at nucleus, and the electrons has little mass, they will revolve, they will occupy the entire other space. So next slide. Okay, previous slide, I just forgot to explain. So how you define water molecule, mass of water molecule? It's nothing but mass of oxygen nuclei plus hydrogen nuclei plus the mass of electrons. There will be 10 electrons. So we have got that equation. Next. So, but the problem is, till now, whenever we define mass, we were actually having the notion that the object is actually fixed in space and time. At one, fixed means it has some uh, local, you can assign position and position coordinates. But here, the mass as concept, the concept of mass has taken revolution, because when you define mass of water molecule is nothing but mass of oxygen nuclei, hydrogen nuclei, plus mass of electron. What is mass of electron? So when they study the nature of electron, they have found that electron doesn't only exhibit particle characteristics, there is also wave characteristics. So it was like wave characteristics means, then how you define mass? Because it's distributed, wave means we know it's not located at one place, it's got distributed over the space, right? So the so all of our the local conception or got it got to be redefined, right? So I will tell more about, so next slide please. And one more revolution of in physics is general relativity in 20th century. Here also you find very difficult. Here there are two mass, one is moving mass, one is rest mass. So when they try to define we see okay, I will explain here. So when you see the particle is moving more than a certain more than 75% of light, it actually the dimension which you attribute, like if this is the mass particle, if you attribute it to a size, but if it's move for 87, so the length get dilates, length get contracted, not so. As you, if you approach velocity of light, the dimension along that axis, it gets just straight line. There is no dimension actually, right? Means the local conception of mass, what we have very intuitively we see, but like experience, but it the things got more and more more and more complications has arrived, like what is rest mass and moving mass. Next slide please. So a massless particle traveling at speed of light is flat or two-dimensional. It doesn't have dimension in the direction of motion. So with these two revolutions in 20th century, the quantum mechanics and general relativity, the local conception of mass is, it got a question mark. So how you actually escape this? Next slide. So here comes our Feynman, our friend. So he defines quantum field theory. So it's very crazy. So they define there is field in all space and time. So the massless particle, something magical happens and it acquires mass. So it's like you're switching off on and off your like electric switch. So next slide. So with the concept of Higgs field and Higgs boson, we have formulated that quarks, like the particles, when it interacts with the field, it acquires mass. It's not individual property, it's the property of the object plus the field. It's the interaction, it's actually that is contributing to the mass of the object. Next slide please. So in standard model, like okay, in standard model, so how mass of atom is defined. Mass of atom is nothing but mass of protons, electrons, and the neutrons. So the electron is it acquired it as fundamental, but the proton is still made up of quarks, and neutron is also made up of quarks. So next slide please. So proton and neutron are made up of up quarks and down quarks. But when you calculate up quark mass, like in terms of energy, you are defining the mass. So in units of energy, so up quark mass is around 2.3 electron volts, mega electron volts, whereas down quark mass is 4.8. But if you sum up quarks and down quarks, you are getting only around 7 mega electron volts. But proton mass is all 938 mega electron volts. So almost 99% is mass of proton is not coming from mass of its constituents, up electrons and up quarks and down quarks. So what is the mystery it's happening here? Next. So our friend Einstein has come. So he gave very famous relation. So he's telling all the energy, you have to redefine your conception of mass. So long they were thinking that mass and energy are different concepts, but yeah, mass and energy are different quantities. But he has given very nice relation, like mass also can be converted into energy, energy also can be converted into mass. So if the up quarks and down quarks and the X field is always present. So if it interacts, then this interaction energy gets contributed to the mass. Next slide, please. So the mass of up quark and down quarks comes from the energy of particles interaction with the X field. And this contribution, like, but the 1% is coming from up quark, the mass of the up quarks and down quarks, and whereas the 99% is mass is coming from the interaction of proton with the gluons. Like there is strong, I don't know exactly what. Okay, there is some interaction happening, so it is contributing to the mass of the proton. So there is one famous saying by Frank Wilczek, he is a Nobel laureate. So he is telling, if the body is a human body whose mass overwhelming arises from the protons and neutrons it contains, the answer is now clear and decisive. The mass of that body with accuracy is its energy content. So there is one famous joke. So everyone wants to decrease their belly, right? Because so much mass is sitting here. So he was telling it is actually energy content. So I forgot the joke, but there is what to tell. Okay, like it's actually energy sitting, not the mass. It's the interaction. Next slide, please. So I would like just summarize how we have actually very properly has escaped the definition of mass. We have already, every time we are defining the definition of mass as some of its definition, some of its constituents of its, some of its mass of the constituents and some interaction energy. But still we have not got a definition of what is mass. So initially we have, okay, bigger bodies is there. If you break down it, you will get molecule. So molecule, if you break down, you will get atoms. Atoms, if you break down, you will get nucleus. Nucleus and the electrons and this. So, and when you see the nucleus, there is protons, and when you see protons, there is quarks. So, but still we haven't we still don't know how actually we have to define mass. Next slide, please. So still, like energy, every time we define potential energy, kinetic energy, we attribute some definitions, but exactly how we define these terms, that it's just philosophically we define for the time being, in which experiment you want to study, you define like a proper construction, you do a proper construction, but the concept on which your theories are built, but that one we are very fuzzy always, like over the evolution. So what is the definition of energy? What is the definition of mass? These things still people always try to contemplate how we actually have to update these definitions over the time. And next, how actually the origin of mass is happening. We are telling it interacts with the Higgs field, all these things, but we still don't know the nature of Higgs field. Though some details we know, but how ontological nature of Higgs field we don't know. And what is what is the nature of force or force equation that gives rise to mass. So with these small thoughts, I would like to conclude. Next slide, please. So these thoughts has been inspired from these books. There is one book by Jim Baggett. He has one book on mass, and another book by Frank Wilczek. So there also in Frank Wilczek, he talks about other parts, other things also, but with these two books. Next slide, please. So actually this concept, I would like to actually acknowledge Bhaktivedanta Institute for giving this, our Varun sir and Vasudeva sir. They have inspired me to delve deeper on these topics. And Kalyani, director of Bhaktivedanta Institute, Kalyani, sir, and Srikant sir and Roshan Tiwari and my friends have helped in exploring this. I would like to acknowledge them. Thank you. Next. So thank you for hearing this concept. Yeah.
Hello, check.
Hello.
Hello.
Though I have missed so many
Hello.
formulas were there, but I have missed all the formulas, but still. Okay.
Thank you, Nikhil. Yeah, we have already hands raised.
Yeah.
So.
Nikhil, nice presentation. I would like for the house, I will make things a little more complicated for you. When we write this de Broglie wavelength, okay, we write lambda is equal to h by p, but p is equal to your momentum. And that is, I am talking about the wavelength of a particle. And then, I don't know who thought this, that they will take lambda is equal to h by p, and instead of p, they will write mv. So that particular equation is a really complicated equation even for me to convince to the students. On one side you have a lambda, and another side you have a mv, where m is a mass. Now you take this equation and you tell what is mass. Think about this. One side is lambda, another side is h is a constant, and below is a mass. So what is the definition of mass? You take this equation and tell. Thoughtful question actually. I keep on thinking when I teach to the students.
Hello.
Hello.
Our sir want to add comments.
You will may say, just to share a thought on your point, that you will be happy to know that even de Broglie, who gave this equation, he was also puzzled by this equation himself. He writes in his book, what does this really mean? This lambda connected with mass or a particle. That is unknown to him, and he knows that this equation works well, but we don't know what it is. The founder himself had a question.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
I understood. Oh, actually, comment means actually the momentum when you are writing, if you deal with relativistic, you write differently. If you deal with non-relativistic, you write differently. But at the fundamental level, the things are like we don't know how. See, one side you are telling non-local property, and other side you are equating that to whatever we conceive it as a local property. But what is actually real? We still trying to do so many things, but we don't have. So far, our journey was this much only. Maybe future scientists, they will give some more things.
Hello. Yeah. extending on the topic only. Light doesn't have mass.
Huh?
Light doesn't have mass.
So there was one concept, right? Very crazy concept, massless particles.
Huh. How do they have momentum? Extending that concept itself.
So see, Einstein conception is very, it's very revolutionary because you are equating entire energy in equivalent of mass. So whether you have a mass or no, every time you have energy, right? See, it's nothing like which came first because we study some experiments. We want to interpret the results of experiments. Whether you throw whether you throw two diameters and 5 diameters metallic balls, but when we want to attribute what we are trying to develop some concepts in understanding the nature. But which came first? We can't tell because.
Solar cells, they depend on this very concept. If you want to travel across stars, we want to take the momentum from the solar radiation so that we can go from one planet to another.
Yeah.
Like just like wind sails. Ancient times, they would use the power of wind. So for traveling in solar system, they want to use this concept.
Yeah, in Newtonian mechanics, if you see, P is nothing but mv. But if you come to general relativity, the P you define, P is nothing but under root of, yeah, I think, mv, okay.
E by C, sir. Equivalent of E by C.
E equals to mc square plus m.
E by C will be M.
There is no board anyway.
Dimensional balancing E by C.
So you defined your moment like E square is nothing but m square c to the power of 4 plus p square, I think. Yeah. So there p square c square. You can help, sir. I forgot because p square c square. Okay, p square c square. So there, if you write the momentum definition, it's coming not only in terms of mass, you are also getting the energy content. So which definition you will take? Whether you subscribe to Newton, whether you subscribe to Einstein, it's up to you. But yeah, if you subscribe to Einstein, you have two mass. One is moving mass, one is rest mass. Right.
Yeah.
See, one comment. Always the concept has been defined to always understand some research problem. Always want to try to solve some problems like research. So in the journey we develop some concepts, but when you come to philosophical level and contemplate on that, we don't know actually. Like, because see, you have already seen how mass is defined constant sum of mass of some other particles. So some here mass, there mass, but you don't know actually. We actually don't know, but no, actually there is one. I will tell at the end. You can.
Yeah, so I have a question,
Yeah.
more sort I am seeking for your viewpoint on this. So are the ancient, the yogis were utilizing this Higgs field to dematerialize and materialize themselves on their own will? Like, were they able to actually convert their mass into energy on their will and then accordingly dematerialize themselves?
See, friend, I actually don't know the answer because either I study little science and spirituality. Our friends, they motivate me to do something. But this teletransportation, how they do, I don't know. Maybe if someone knows something, they can comment. Because this teletransportation.
Yes, one follow-up. I have just one follow-up.
Maybe our sir also can add something. He's asking a question about teletransportation. Like, yeah. You want to add something on? I can't hear you. Okay.
What about it? Teleportation is the play.
Yeah. Like how actually teleportation happens. So it's your same question. I just introduced teleport. It's modern word for the same question.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's a quantum phenomena. You can't make a classical picture of teleportation. You have to think in terms of wave functions. You can teleport a wave function, not necessarily a massive body. Okay? So through various quantum mechanical manipulations, you can swap a wave function from here to there. So classically it's not possible, and quantum mechanically it's not a surprise. But if you try to understand it in terms of a classical picture, you're going to mislead yourself. So one should not think of teleportation as some classical force, motion type of explanation. I don't know whether I answered your question, but.
Yeah, okay. See, okay, thank you, sir. And actually, to give more insights, if you explore the research field which concentrates on light and matter interaction, because in a matter, like when you want to excite an electron, so you don't know which we study with energies, but which electron is going, whether if you take I think if you take carbon atom, whether the 1s electron is going out, 2s is going out, or 2p is going out, which electron is we attribute the electron motion to orbitals, but which electron goes out we actually don't know, because all the concept here very important. All the electrons has been though they are all identical, indistinguishable electrons, but how they have taken different role because their energy content is different. One is in, so maybe possible or don't know, I don't know how Rishi has done, I don't know, because I was not there at time.
Yeah, so just have a follow-up question. Like you talked about the Higgs field, so you said it is present everywhere.
Yeah, means that how we are formulating our theories. We are assuming it exists everywhere.
So
that is our assumption.
I think the the yogis might be able to tune with that Higgs field, and we may not we may not be aware, or like in deep meditative state they might be able to utilize that field. Maybe that a possibility.
Yeah, maybe, because see, maybe possible, because if you see this episode of Mahabharat, one thing is this Sanjaya is sitting one place, he's seeing what is happening in Kurukshetra. You don't have television, you don't have something, so how he is seeing, how he is able to see? So this is fact, but how they have done, what is the technology, all the details, we don't have either in any scriptures or anything. So we don't know how they have done the technology. Maybe possible.
Thank you.
Sir, we have a question from Devarga Pathak.
Yeah.
He wants to ask, can we say Higgs field is related to dark matter? Can we say Higgs field is related to dark matter?
Oh, dark matter is one more bigger concept. See, one thing we have noticed is, okay, when in astronomy we are trying to see the things, okay, how much mass we can acquire. So people have come after so much rigor analysis, they have come to conclusion, okay, 90 whatever is visible, 95%, only 5% of the universe we are understanding, 95% we don't understand. So what name we have to give to that 95%? It's dark matter or dark energy. But we don't know, because see how actually almost all the scientific experiments we perceive because of light interacting with matter, more or less all the things. We, either we collect the rays from astronomy, either you do in your laboratory, the signals we get, how we analyze, how the experimental data is recorded, it's because of signal. But there is called black hole, it doesn't even allow light to escape. So how you study black hole? Because our instrument of studying the nature is light, in more or less sense, if you term major, so more or less it's because of light. So black hole, dark matter. So for me personally is, I don't understand these things. Maybe some physics professors can answer your question. It was X field to dark matter, but I don't know.
Okay,
So
one
we-
last question from
we
the
have-
online participants. Are you a mass or wave or energy?
So what I am, this is a big question. It struggles, it's more or less the same question, right? Am I a mass, energy or wave? So if you go to different friends, they will give different answer. They will tell I am Nikhil. They don't tell I am mass, right? Or if I go to, so mass, energy. So it's actually the energy content. If you would like to explore, especially the living systems are very special systems, because uh, even non-living things are special, but living things are more special. So I am living things. So I am in terms of ontological definitions, I am an energy. I am not a mass. But what is that nature of energy? I don't know. But I am a energy to give that answer.
So we have another question.
Yes. I will discuss with you.
We have
Okay.
another question, but I think Nikhil can discuss with you personally during the break, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Actually,
Thank
we are
you.
running out of time.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'll request Nikhil to please be on the stage. Thank you, Mr. Nikhil. It was really a very wonderful presentation along with a very lively discussion. So, on behalf of Summer School 2022, I would request Professor Sujit Roy, Dean Continuing Education, Indian Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar, to kindly come onto the stage and present a small token of gratitude to Mr. Nikhil. Sir, please.
See, I mean, very nice to see this kind of student presentation where they take up topics and really go into depth. And we to all the houses thinking what is mass. Okay, so that's the brilliance of this fellow. It's very nice.
Actually, this topic our Varun sir has gave to me, so I just thank him.
Thank you, Mr. Nikhil. Thank you, Professor Roy. With this second session in the second session of the day, that is Young Minds Speak, we have actually, as I was talking about, we have scratched a lot of rust on our minds. So I would like to request the audience to go out and have some snacks or refreshments and be again energetic and come back. So we have one more session left for the day. So after that session, the topic is computation, formal versus inimitable. So after that session, we will be having a very power-packed cultural program, that is an Odissi dance. So please take a short break, around 20 minutes, and then